Hey y'all, welcome back. As you may have noticed, I did switch up which side of the room I was on. Just wanted to try something different. Let me know your thoughts. Do you like this one? Do you like the other one better? Let me know. So today we're going over Leo Lionni. We're going to dive into his life, see all the behind the scenes, where all of his inspiration came from. How did he even get into children's books? Because it may kind of surprise you. But of course, everything housekeeping wise first. If you are new here, please subscribe. I'd love for you to stay around. I do these deep dives on children's book authors and illustrators, and it has been fascinating to see what is in that closet. Oh, let me tell you. And my goal is to get to 1,500 subscribers. I would love to hit that mark. So definitely subscribe if you want to see more deep dive content. All right, so Leo Lionni, born on May 5th, 1910 in the Netherlands. So from a very young age, he knew he wanted to be an artist. He knew he wanted to be in art in some capacity. And so that was always like a huge passion of his. But also another passion of his that you kind of see pop up later in his work was he loved to keep like small animals and like little creatures like that in the attic of his house. And he especially loved to keep terrariums, which you do see this like later on in his work. So I thought that was just kind of fun. So his uncle was actually an architect and an artist. And so he did mentor Leo when it came to art. And then I did read a story that was really kind of fascinating was when Leo was a little bit older, he received a pass for one of the museums that he kind of lived around where he could go just kind of anytime he wanted to go and just sketch all the statues and really anything that inspired him. He'd be able to draw it. And he even kind of commented later in his life that a lot of these statues, I mean, he was so in awe by them that they stayed with him for his whole life. So his mom was an opera singer, and then his dad was an accountant and also like a diamond cutter. And so because of his dad's work, they did have to kind of travel around a lot. And so because of this, Leo was actually fluent in several languages. He became fluent in Dutch, German, English, Italian, and French. I mean, I could barely catch on to like the German and Spanish that I had taken. And yeah, that was kind of rough. Now, when Leo was 12, his parents moved to America for a short time and without him. Like they went over there without him. And so he went to go stay with his grandparents in Brussels. But then a couple years later, that's when he was able to go to America with his family. And so he went to school in Philadelphia for the couple years that he was there, but then it didn't last very long, and then the family was back over to Europe. And it was actually in Italy when he would meet his wife Nora when he was only 16. I mean, they got married like later, but this is when he met her in Italy. And so this part I thought was kind of interesting. Didn't see this one coming. So Nora Moffi, her dad was one of the founders of the Italian Communist Party. And so I think there was just a lot going on there. I think there was way more to that story. And I was interested and I looked. And I really couldn't find anything on her dad. I couldn't find... It was very hard. Everything that came up in Italian. And so I did think to myself like, well, I could always translate it. I honestly just... That's like kind of where my interest just stopped. I was like, no, I have other things to do. Hey y'all, future me. Sorry, I'm just going to pop in here real fast and just tell you guys that if you'd like to check out my own children's books that are inspired by the classics, you can head down below. Everything's down there. And I also have some really cute chain bookmarks, ribbon bookmarks, Kindle/phone charms. I also have some stickers made from my own art, and I have more of those coming very soon. So head down below, check everything out. Thank you so much for the support, and let's go ahead and get back into the video. So they did get married when Leo was 21, and then they did go on to have 2 sons. So around this time too, this is when Leo was like, he was like really working on his painting and stuff, and he was really, really popular and really, really well known. And he tended to work in this like avant-garde, futuristic kind of style. And yeah, I mean, he was really well known like as an artist like this. I mean, he was definitely fulfilling his dream. But Leo was the type of person where he didn't really like to ever stop learning. It seemed like he was kind of always either teaching or learning throughout his life. And so he actually did earn a economics degree from the University of Genoa? Is it Genoa? Every time, I swear, I'm so sorry. Anytime that you guys have to sit through me trying to pronounce stuff, it's just, I feel bad. And so he got this degree in 1935, and this is kind of when he started to spend a little more time in like advertising design. So he kind of almost just kind of focused more of his attention there. And I love doing these deep dives on these people because I think we kind of know them for their books and their works, but honestly, I think almost everyone we've talked about so far, unless I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, put it down below. So far, everyone we've talked about, like being a children's book author and illustrator, like or children's book author and illustrator, was not their first goal. Like that wasn't their first step. That wasn't their like kind of drive. There was always like other things that they had done that had kind of like led up to that point. So I just think it's just so life. It's so life, isn't it? Now, like I mentioned, it was 1935. So anyone who's kind of familiar with history at this time knows what's kind of brewing over in Europe. So because of Leo's job, I mean, they did move around a lot. They did move around, but it was also to kind of escape the kind of rising political tensions over in Europe at the time, because Leo's dad was Jewish. Like his dad is Jewish, but his mom is Christian. And so he was concerned about like the rising political tensions at that time. So that's why the kind of family kind of just kept like moving around. They were kind of trying to dodge stuff around, and they were just trying to escape it as much as they could for as long as they could. So in 1939, this is when Leo actually goes over to America by himself. So he keeps his wife and kids over in Europe for the time being, and he kind of tries to establish his career there. Now, some records say that it was in Philadelphia. Some say that it was in New York. So I'm not sure if maybe there was like a mixture, if he moved around to kind of both cities. So, I mean, I saw both. So just know that, but it was kind of over in that area. It was East Coast, basically. And so he was able to start his career there in like full-time advertising, and he was very successful. And so thankfully the family was able to get visas, and then they came over and joined him. At the same time of doing all the like advertising work, he was also doing commissions like on the side. Like he never kind of closed off that portion of his life. And so he did do works for some pretty famous people, but I'm going to have to read these off my notes because they're just so difficult to pronounce, okay? So I'm sorry. But it was Andy Warhol, which, okay, I know Andy Warhol. Saul Steinberg, Alexander Calder, William de Kooning, and Ferdinand Leger. I'm sorry. And then at one point, too, he was also put into the Advertising Hall of Fame, which that was news to me. I didn't even know that was a thing. Is there just like a Hall of Fame for like everything? I thought that was mainly like a sports thing. Honestly, that was like shock. I didn't know. I was like, what? And so in 1948, this is when he accepts a job as the art director for Fortune, and he held this spot for quite a while. So he was there until 1960. And so while he was at this spot, he also did like other outside work too. So he did design a catalog, the Family of Man catalog, for, I think it was one of the museums. Yeah, the Museum of Modern Art. And then he was also the design director for Olivetti. Who are these people? And here he did produce like ads, brochures, and like showroom designs and things like that. Okay, so here's the part where we get to kind of how he stumbles into children's books. So in 1960, this is when he decides to actually go back to Italy. So obviously this is post-World War II. So the story goes is this, and I did see the story in several different places. Like, I kind of wanted to cross-reference this story because I was almost like, this seems like too romantic of a story to have this be it, but I did see it in several different places. So this is how the story goes, is how he stumbled into children's books. So on a train ride with his grandkids, he was trying to keep his grandkids entertained. And a lot of the time what he would do was he would kind of come up with stories. And while he was telling the stories to the kids, he would draw out pictures. Well, on this train ride, he was out. Like, he didn't have any like pencil or paper to work with. So he ended up like kind of ripping out this yellow circle and blue circle and telling the story that way. And he saw the way the kids reacted to it. And they were just so enthralled with this. So this kind of sparked his whole idea. This is how he ended up coming up with one of his first books. And that book was called Little Blue and Little Yellow. I just think that's like such a fun story because like what kind of like a happy accident, right? I think things like that honestly happen more than we kind of think, just because like when you're kind of driven to be creative, you kind of have to be pushed outside your comfort zone and pushed outside the box. And then you realize, oh, That's actually a really, really good idea. This is also why like I'm a big proponent of letting kids be bored, because when kids are bored, that's like where creativity like really takes off. And like if kids are just always being like stimulated, or if they always have things planned for them, like they're just never given that opportunity to like really see how creative they can be and how imaginative like they can be. Okay, sorry. I'm like having to catch up just a little bit because the story isn't as long today and I kind of forgot about that. So I'm kind of catching up a bit. Okay, there we go. So I think I'm on better pace for the rest of this. So Leo actually went on to create more than 40 children's books. And, you know, people just absolutely loved his style. They loved just his artwork and the way he like created his children's books. They also just adored the style of the children's books too, like when it comes to the writing, because he did it almost like kind of like fable-like stories, and kids just absolutely loved him. All right. And then this is my biggest nightmare is this next word. Okay. And I'm not even playing this time. I'm going to have this one up on the screen. This is an award that he won in 1965. Okay. And I'm going to try my best. Okay. I'm going to use my years of German to try to pull this one out. Okay. Deutscher Jugendliter, whatever. Just read it on the screen. I can't even. And then also kind of like I mentioned before, he taught throughout his whole career. It just seemed like he really, really loved teaching because, I mean, why would you keep teaching that much if you didn't like it, right? So he taught at several different colleges between 1946 and 1985. And he did kind of everything from like the Parsons School of Design to, let me make sure I get this right, Ahmed Abdad, India, and several places in between. And here's what's something else that's really funny. I read somewhere that someone said that he was the first one to use collage in a children's book. Now, we're talking around the same time as Ezra Jack Keats. So that's what got me thinking. I was like, is that really the case? And I think that Leo won out by a very, very close amount. Like, I think it was a very, very close, because his first book, so Little Blue and Little Yellow, was released in 1959. And then Ezra's first book, My Dog Is Lost, was released in 1960. So very, very close. So, wow. This is fun. Holy moly. In the camera, it looks crazy. So Leo did go on, and he unfortunately did develop Parkinson's disease in 1982, but he did create as much as he could until he passed away in 1999 in Tuscany. So that is the life of Leo Lionni. Now, we have several of his books. I love his illustrations. I think they're so adorable. I'm a sucker for collage. I absolutely love collage. I'd love to do a collage book in the future one day. So let me know all your thoughts down below. What do we think of Leo and his life? Let me know what authors and illustrators you want to see next. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. It appeases the algorithm gods, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.